Hello everyone, welcome back to Crow's Whisper Tarot. Today we're going to be looking at what your spirit guides have to tell you, and it's any urgent messages, anything they want you to remember, things along those lines. So let's jump into the reading. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you guys picked out the Temperance card from the Ogash and Thorn deck. We also have Mermaid Song, and we also have Panther Spirit, Reclaim Your Power. Very much similar energy with all the cards, so there's one particular message that is standing out above all else, which is you need to be more confident, embrace yourself to your best of your ability, know exactly what you want, even if you feel like other people are going to judge you, or you're not going to be received in the same way. You don't need to change yourself to fit molds of others. In fact, being more yourself and being your true self, speaking your mind, dressing the way you want to, acting the way you want to, not trying to necessarily conform to other people's opinions, but don't hold what they have as being true. Know yourself to the best of your ability. Don't try and shy away from situations where you have to be in the limelight. I'm getting for some of you, especially with the Temperance card, is you try and sort of be in the in-between space of being yourself and being what others expect you to be, or what has previously been what others have expected of you. And so you haven't let go of previous thoughts, processes, previous things that others have told you to do, and so it's almost like you need to restructure your mind and know that you have so much potential for yourself. You just need to utilize it and need to make sure that you are in the right headspace to get through this situation, whatever it is. But essentially the best thing that you can do for yourself is put yourself out there. Whether you are well received or not doesn't really matter. What matters is that you are confident in yourself, and that itself will lead to a bigger spread of people who have like-minded thoughts, people who are attracted to your energy. Being able to showcase your uniqueness is something that is to your benefit, and don't try and ignore comments like, oh, you're not good enough, or things aren't working out, or feeling like you are less of because you act a certain way that is very different, and then you try and change yourself to adjust to a situation. But in fact, being more unique is to your benefit. So let's have a few other bits of information from Spirit to see how you can try and implement this into your life, things that you can do to really hone into that confidence and be more comfortable in your own skin. So we have the High Priestess. We also have the Explorer of Cups, the Two of Swords reversed, and the Hierophant. And seeing as we have two major arcanas as part of this, you just need to get into the energy of knowing exactly what you want. You have really good intuition. You have the skills to really see past things that others can't, and be, really in tune to the emotions of others. You could be an empath, but you are just very sensitive to the feelings and approaches of other people. And because you're sensing those sorts of things at such a high intensity, it makes you feel like sometimes you are dragged into what you think they're feeling, just because you get that really strong sense, and then you sort of shy away from a situation based on that sort of strong energy that you're receiving from them. What you need to try and lead into more is being a pillar, being someone who is not shifted from who you are, what you do, being someone who is steady and able to maintain themselves no matter the situation, not trying to fall into what others might say, what others might think. You're just very much into being your true self. And what that leads to is more interactions with people around you, being able to communicate a lot better, being able to create an image for yourself that is unique to you, and you're not going to conform to, you know, what others have in terms of expectation, but also you're able to really generate almost a following for some of you with this. You can be someone who, if you embrace your true self, can be really attractive and almost draw people in and lure people into you, especially because we have mermaid song here. So you can think of it like a siren song as others being drawn to your energy and others being drawn to your voice and the way you communicate and how you sort of interact with other people. It's going to lead to your benefit if you really try and put yourself out there and really draw that energy into you. And with the Two of Swords reversed, again, it's, you know, being able to make a decision as quickly and efficiently as possible is something that a lot of people tend to struggle with. And what you want to try and do is not just be really decisive, but not just think that the world is clear cut. There's a lot of gray area for, you know, interacting with people and showcasing your talents and, you know, doing something. There's no black and white way of doing, you know, showcasing yourself, presenting yourself a certain way. There's no actual like manual to doing that. And I think that's why it's so difficult to sort of embrace this energy, is because you have to trust yourself enough that you're worthy of receiving from other people. You're worthy of being accepted no matter what sort of face you have and what sort of thing you put out there. It's the confidence that you need to build within yourself is so significant, and it's something that you need to develop over time. But I feel like there is an aspect to this where you might need to speed things along for your benefit, but we'll get a bit more information on that, because I feel like there's something like really particular that Spirit wants to come across. So so bottom of the deck is King of Pentacles. So for some of you, being able to, you know, develop this attractiveness can be related to financial success or, you know, success in terms of work and things like that. So we have the Ten of Swords reversed. We have the Nine of Swords reversed. The Knight of Wands reversed. And Justice reversed. Very interesting that we get all the cards reversed, but ultimately what Spirit is trying to get at with this is, unless you release that sort of hesitation with speaking, especially because we get so many swords cards, and that hesitation and anxiety of interacting with other people, you know, trying to create conversations, trying to build yourself up from the ground, is something that I feel like you're overthinking a lot of the time, or you're trying to think about how to respond, and that sort of delay in interaction causes things to not work out. For some of you, it can also be related to your body language when you are interacting with other people. I think sometimes with this, especially the Knight of Wands reversed, is you almost hesitate. You try and distance yourself from situations, or you put barriers for yourself that don't really need to be there or get misinterpreted. So just keep in mind that you just need to, again, build that confidence. Don't overthink what is in front of you. Don't try and hesitate too much when you take action, because by doing that, you're creating more barriers for yourself. You're not responding the way you should. Like, your instincts are good. You pick it up really quick. But the issue is when you hesitate too much, or you're like, I'm not sure if I should like enter this conversation. Like, if you're in a situation where you're talking to someone and then you notice, you know, something falls out of their bag, instead of like directly going in and helping out like you would typically do, you're like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? And then you sort of have this hesitation about you, and then the other person's like, why are they so awkward now? Do they not like talking to me? And it's just because that conversation is going on in your head that you can't vocalize that enough for them to be like, okay, this person clearly like is comfortable talking to me, it's just they got a bit distracted, and that's fine. Like, it's one of those things where the more hesitation you have for yourself, the more blocks you're going to have in the future. And so try and use your body language, trying to use your voice, trying to decrease that hesitation, because if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Like, there's nothing you can do for that situation, and it's not going to ruin any conversations. It's just going to mean that you have something to laugh over if something goes wrong. And obviously it depends on who you're interacting with, but ideally in this scenario, with what I'm seeing with all these cards, is the more hesitation, the more you feel like you're not good enough or you're not interacting enough, you're actually creating more barriers for yourself. And it's something that you need to sort of restructure your mind over. You're not starting from scratch, you're starting from a foundation, but you've dropped backwards a little bit, and you just need to pick yourself up and really hone into those skills of presenting yourself to the best of your ability, because you have that, you have all of that. You can, you know, I feel like with small groups or people that you're used to interacting with, things are really easy. Like, there's no hesitation with speaking or moving or doing stuff like that. Like, that's normal. But when you're in new situations, I feel like there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of panic that sort of kicks in, and that's something that you want to try and make sure that you're looking after yourself to your best of your ability. But Spirit's main message for you is to just be yourself and have the confidence to present yourself, because at the bottom of the deck we have the King of Pentacles. You have every resource, everything that you need, every connection that you can make, you can make it in seconds. Like, there's nothing that you can't do. And also because the King of Pentacles is Taurus energy, it is of luxury and it's of comfort, and it's knowing exactly what you want and getting that. So that's the energy that you have the potential to be. You just need to make yourself into that image and see yourself as that image as well. So that's your reading, pile 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, pile 2. Welcome to your reading. We have the Two of Wands reversed. We have Octopus ink. We have the Bat Spirit with a rebirth is assured. And we also have Owl Spirit with you see clearly now. So a lot of energies are coming up. I feel like this group in particular is really concerned about their future, and their future in terms of what's going to come, if there's anything that they need to be aware of. I feel like there's a lot of unexpected events or circumstances that you feel like are going to happen, so you intuitively know, but it is something that you feel like you're in a position that is really difficult, and you don't really know how to move forward in a way that is going to benefit you and how to pursue what you want to pursue without having blockages in place. Especially with the Two of Wands reversed, I'm getting the feeling like something that you feel like is a major change is going to take place, and so you're really concerned about being able to embrace that energy, making sure that you're looked after, that you're safe, that you have the resources that you need, and that you're in a place that is going to benefit you in the future. With Octopus ink though, the main thing that Spirit wants to let you know is that as much as you feel uncomfortable, it's important that you don't spread yourself too thin, that you don't do too much at once. I feel like with this group, there's a lot of concern in terms of, you know, multiple areas of your life that things aren't going to plan, or there's a lot of things that you need to look out for, and they might sort of override each other in some aspect. But it's good to just focus at one thing at a time. Don't try and spread yourself too thin. Don't try and exhaust yourself with unexpected situations. What's really important is just making sure that you are in the best possible condition, that you're not stressed, that you're not overwhelmed. Octopi, when they release their ink, it is when they are stressed, when they're intimidated, when they are under pressure in some capacity. It's a defense mechanism. You don't want to need to use that as much as possible. You want to be in a space where you're comfortable, that you're relaxed, and having that excess stress isn't going to benefit you with your anxiety of planning for the future. And with the bat spirit, with rebirth is assured, it's really just knowing that you are in safe hands, that you are guided towards a space that is meant for you. And, you know, this circumstance, this change that is going to take place is something that is meant to be. And so no matter the situation, it's best not to overthink a change that is going to happen, because ultimately it is going to be for your benefit, and it's going to make you a lot more positive in terms of what's going to happen in your life. So let's have a look at more specific messages from Spirit on what this new change is going to be about. What is the change? What should be expected? So we have the Five of Cups, the Five of Swords, and the Five of Wands. Five's a very interesting number because it is mainly of challenges and being able to build yourself back up after a difficult situation. It's about being able to piece yourself together. And with this, it does feel like the change involves you not getting exactly what you want. It's about you not being able to have the resources that you need, that you feel like you've lost something that is important to you, and that you have to sort of pick yourself up from that loss that you have experienced. And look, it can be, you know, people in your life, it can be finances, it can be other things along those lines. But we have the Five of Wands, which is being able to put yourself back together, being able to connect better to the people around you, being able to embrace your true energy and not feel like you're fighting with yourself. And whatever this plan is that you have for the future, or this vision that you see yourself in the future, it doesn't mean that it is right for you. And what this is doing is it's reshifting your world and making you see what is meant to be. And being able to accept that is really important, because it leads you into a much more interactive and stable atmosphere where you can really focus on yourself. And especially with Octopus Spirit, you don't want to, I think in this current situation that you're in, you're trying to spread yourself in a way that isn't worth it. You're trying to, you know, get a feel for, you know, interacting with people from work and then from social life, and then being able to almost hold on to things a little too tightly. And I think that is going to be more to your detriment, because the tighter you hold on, the less control that you feel like you have. So sometimes letting things go, letting things be, and just being in a situation where you can focus on yourself and your own personal growth, and not focusing on what other people are doing or different aspects of your life. That's not what's really important. What's important is your mental health and being able to be as clear as you can with what you have. And that's going to lead to a much more, I want to say, a lot more of a stable life. So let's have a look. Additional messages from Spirit. What can we do with the situation? So we have Justice reversed, the Seven of Swords reversed, the King of Cups, the King of Swords reversed, and the World card. So with this situation, what you're going to find is that there is going to be a significant amount of acknowledgement, in the sense that you're going to have a change. And I think at this stage you still haven't accepted that that is a possibility, or you're shying away from that possibility. And what you need to realize is that things that are meant to be will stay in our life, and things that are not meant to be will go. And I think you're trying to hold on to this idea that you have to such an extent that it's not working in your favor. So just try and let things go. And I think with the King of Swords energy, it's almost sometimes when you get absorbed in your thoughts for a very long time, it becomes very hard to distinguish with what is actually happening versus how we see things in our head. And our mind has a way of changing what is, true. And so going back to a much more objective viewpoint is going to be really beneficial to you. And knowing that what you can control only what is in front of you. You can't really control what's going to happen in the future. It's not something that you need to worry about, but you just need to know that there's going to be a change that is going to lead to happiness. And that's the one thing Spirit wants to point out, is that even if you're struggling, even if things don't go to plan, there's still a very high potential for you to be happy in the future. You just need to let go of having intense control of what is in front of you, because that's not going to benefit you if you're constantly worrying about a scenario that hasn't taken place yet. And I think the one thing that, in addition to that, that Spirit wants you to be aware of is the more stress you accumulate in life, the more it's going to affect your health. So I think that's something that you need to keep at the back of your mind, is that you need pathways where you can let go of stress, whether it's, escapism or watching movies or TV. Like, that's great, because they don't want you to hyper focus on situations that are not to your benefit, that are going to drag you down, and lack of sleep, things along those lines. All of that, if it's stress related, it's going to negatively affect your health. So just really keep in mind what is meant to be will be. And that's the one thing that you need to really hone into. And I think Spirit is quite concerned in terms of health. It could be that you're having a lot of interactions with people around you that are not to your benefit. And so just keep in mind with a lot of social situations with what takes place. So we have the Ten of Pentacles reversed, and we also have Judgment reversed. I feel like with a lot of these reversal cards, it's more to be able to put yourself back into that energy. With Judgment, it's being able to see that light at the end of the tunnel, to see that there is hope and that there is growth to be had. And, being able to see the growth in yourself and the growth in your environment is important, and trying to hold back on receiving what's being given to you is something that you want to try and avoid. And what you want to do is build up enough resources for yourself, build up enough comfort that you know exactly what's going to happen and how things are going to take place. You don't want to have too much hesitancy with taking action and trusting yourself, and being able to embrace the environment that you're in is really important. So keep that in mind. So that was your reading, pile number 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Welcome, pile number 3, to your reading. We have messages from your spirit team. So we have the 7 of Pentacles reversed, the Tincture of Toad, and the Lizard Spirit, Dream the World into Being. Very exciting cards for you guys, I will say. So Tincture of Toad is essentially talking about you have gone through a number of challenges almost continually for the short period of time on whatever you have been trying to work on in life. You're going to find that these obstacles are, have been completely filled with setbacks, of self-doubt, of things not going to plan. And what this is essentially pointing out is that things that you have put into place, the hard work that you have tried to instill, that's all starting to take root, which is great. And that essentially aligns with the Seven of Pentacles reversed, where you have planted the seeds and now that is going to take place. There's movement that is going to happen, things that are going to happen in the future. Looking forward to that. And that's something that you need to keep an eye out. Be aware that things don't always go to plan, and there are always like things in place, but your hard work, the dedication, the things that you have done for yourself to make this happen is going to help move things along. And especially with Dream Your World into being, I think for some of you, if you're finding that still things aren't the way you want it to be, shift your thought process. See things from a different light. There's always different ways of achieving success. Like, that's a given. So if something hasn't worked out, it doesn't mean that you're not worthy of success. It just means that there's a different pathway that you might need to utilize that you haven't actually thought of and you haven't put into place. And that is what's going to lead you to more success. And I do feel like success is the key word for this group, which is very, very interesting. So let's have a look at additional messages from Spirit on what to expect with this change in plans. What is there to expect? What is there to expect with changes? All right. We have the Seven of Pentacles again, which is interesting. We have the World card, the Elder of Wands or the King of Wands, and we have the Elder of Pentacles reversed, which is the King of Pentacles. So one thing that you want to keep in mind is Spirit wants to keep in mind that your growth journey is something that will be continuous. You're going to find there's going to be highs and lows in a lot of aspects of your life, and you're going to notice that, I'm pretty sure. The one thing that you can keep in mind is, as long as you're confident in yourself, that you continue to put in effort, that you continue to put in the hard work into things, it's going to spread and grow into something that is a lot more stable. The more groundwork you do, the more foundations you lay, it's going to lead to a lot more stable beginning. So that's something to keep in mind. And I do feel like in terms of your journey towards your goal, it's getting a lot closer than you think, although it certainly doesn't feel that way. And one thing I would say is, even if you reach the goal that you have in mind, there's still going to be that cycle that is going to continue to happen. So don't expect things to go super smoothly. But what it means is that in the long term, the more you put in the effort, it's going to become easier and easier as it goes. So something to definitely look forward to. So additional messages from Spirit on how or what you can do to make this happen sooner. The Page of Wands, the King of Wands, again, getting a lot of repetitive cards, the Four of Swords, and the Five of Wands. So the one thing that is coming through very, very clearly is you are the foundation to your goals and dreams. So even if you're working with other people, even if other people are involved in the creative process, know that you are the fundamental driver of this. And so what you need to keep in mind is the more effort you put through, the more ideas you think of, the more innovation you try and achieve, the greater the goal will be. The more you can grow, the more foundations you lay, the more it can spread to a wider audience if that's something that you want. But you're going to find with both of these cards is the page has butterflies and the king has birds. And obviously one spreads things a lot quicker than the other. But as you can see, that growth journey is there. You're going to have a lot of trial and error when you are creating the foundations, when things aren't going to plan. But then as the foundations get stronger and stronger, it's going to lead to constant influx and constant growth. And one person, as birds sort of spread seeds that they eat, it's going to be a similar process where they're able to spread that, you know, thing that you have been working on. It gets transferred to other people. It gets to grow in a organic way, and it's not forced, because these are very much cards of nature. And so whatever happens, it's going to be a natural occurring process, which means that it is eventually going to become a long-lasting thing. So that's something to look forward to as well. The one thing that I will say with this is that don't shy away from having competition, but that doesn't mean that you need to almost copy and paste what the competition is doing. You don't want it to become a trend. You want it to be something that's sustainable, that is clearly a brand to you. And that's going to take a bit of time. It's going to take time to process. It's going to take time to make sure that you're not mentally drained and you're not putting that energy forward, that you have, your creativity, and that you are in your highest potential energy. You don't want to be in a circumstance where you're not able to access those sorts of emotions. You don't want to be completely drained where you can't do the tasks that you have set in place for yourself, and not being able to then again lay the correct foundations because you're stressed, and so you do things very quickly. You don't take the time and energy to shift into something that is worthy of what you're trying to achieve. So keep those all in mind. But eventually I think this is going to be a very successful atmosphere that is taking place. The one thing I want to look at is time frames of where we're sitting with this. Where is pile 3 currently at? Where would they be at by the end of the year? And where will they be next year? So currently, you guys are getting there, but it's taking a lot of time. And with the 8 of Wands energy, when it does happen, it happens very quickly. So we're not quite up to that stage yet. But by the end of the year, we have the 6 of Wands, which is success, which is growth, which is you creating that stability for this situation that you're working on. And by the end of next year, we have the Explorer of Swords, which is a very fast energy. It is the fastest of the knights. So things will move forward very, very quickly. And it can be that you are then, again, with that bird energy, expanding your horizons, being able to move forward in a way that is very unique, that you are able to sort of spread to other places, other communities, and that's going to lead to a lot of growth with what you're working towards. So that's something to look forward to and keep in mind. But overall, I feel like with this entire energy, it's you having the confidence to create. And I think being able to have that consistency and that confidence is the key to building what you have, and not being afraid of periods where it's super quiet and nothing's happening and that you don't realize the growth that you have achieved, especially if you're focused more on like numbers, or if you're on social media looking at views and things. Like, the more you focus on your own journey and your own growth, it's going to lead to a much clearer future. So that was your reading, pile 3. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, pile 4. Welcome to your reading. So we start off with the Knight of Pentacles, the Poison card, and we also have Turkey Spirit, give with gratitude and grace, and we have White Raven Spirit with trust in magic. So ultimately with poison, it's that I feel like you feel like your journey is being controlled in some aspect by the people you're around, and I feel like energetically you feel like you're drained, and that includes drained of your resources and your time, and I feel like you're sort of pushing yourself a little bit too much. We're trying to please people around you, and it's important to keep in mind that there are toxic people who are around. There are people who are narcissistic, will use your good intentions for their benefit, and it's good to make clear distinctions between those two. And by doing that, you're going to have a lot more energy for yourself to put towards yourself and put towards your magic. And I think more than anything, this group is someone who tries to do their best for their community and for the people in their life, and I feel like the more you force yourself into situations you're uncomfortable with, the more pressure that's going to amount on you. So as good as it is to, give to others and trust others and their good intentions, it's more important to look after yourself and look after people who have these same intentions towards you, and that's what's most important. So let's have a look at specific messages from Spirit on who these people are that are trying to intervene in your life. Who are the people we should be aware of? Ten of Wands, Temperance reversed, Explorer of Wands, Empress reversed, and Strength. Unfortunately, this is more people who you are very close to. For some of you, it can be a maternal energy or feminine energy that is this toxic energy. However, for most of you, it's someone who leans between being hot and cold constantly, giving affection only when it benefits them, someone who is trying to, take more than you can give, very demanding. They can sort of shift between hot and cold more often, but there is a element of their temper is the main thing that makes you uncomfortable. It can also be, especially with the Knight of Wands energy, that they can be someone who is unexpectedly spontaneous or just forces themselves into a situation that involves you or drags you into a situation unexpectedly. And that's going to lead to a lot of inner turmoil for you. But they know what they're doing. They have the Strength card. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to manipulate you. They know how to draw you into situations that aren't to your benefit. And that's the thing. They're sort of that devil in disguise. So let's have a look at some other messages that are going to come through from Spirit on what to do with the situation, how to get out of being involved with this individual. How to protect Pile Force energy. We have the Seven of Wands reversed, the Star reversed, the Five of Wands, and the Four of Swords. The best thing that you can do in this situation is trying to make sure that you have a significant amount of distance between yourself and them. And it can mean that you would need to try and avoid interactions with them, or just taking time out. And if they do interact with you, taking the time to sort of not agree to anything they say, not try and react to anything they say, just focus more on almost avoiding them to the best of the ability, because the more you interact with them, the more chaos that is going to generate from that, because what they like is your reaction. They like seeing your reaction. Whatever you say or do, they will always try and pick at and pull apart. And so the best thing that you can do is not give them fuel to their fire. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's have a look at your next interaction with them. We have the Chariot reversed, the Empress reversed, and the Eight of Wands. I think from this perspective, if you do put the strategies in place, they're not going to have the determination or fuel to keep targeting you. They're going to try and, attempt to please you, attempt to get on your emotional side, trying to pull at your strings as much as possible. But because you have put those barriers in place, because you're not reacting, it's going to be all the power to you. They're not going to have the ability to draw you in, to make you feel a certain way, make you react a certain way, and that's going to make them obviously react. It's going to make them almost hyper aware that you know exactly what's going on, and they're going to play as many cards as they can to pull you in and lure you in. Just make sure that you are protecting yourself and that you use your intuition to the best of your ability to keep that distance, and to make sure that you are aware of the scenario. And it could be one person, it could be a lot of people who are involved in this, but just make sure that you are looking after yourself from a mental health perspective, but also from a energy perspective, because the more we sort of draw into other people's emotions, try and make them our own, we're actually draining our own energy and resources for that. So try and look after yourself to the best of your ability. It's not worth putting in that effort into someone who's not going to appreciate you for who you are, and see the value in having you around. So just make sure that you are doing the best to make you as powerful as possible, to make you someone who others can't try and manipulate. And so that's hard to do, because I feel like you are ultimately a very emotional person. You like having your freedom. You like having people around you who, even if you don't see eye to eye, you like those interactions as much as possible. But it might be worth, taking time out, being able to self-reflect, put yourself in a position where you are able to really endure, see things from a new perspective, endure being, uncomfortable with those people, being able to put barriers out there if needed. You don't need to simply sit in the dark and hope that, they're going to eventually, accept you. Eventually they're going to change. It's not going to happen. Just focus more on your own energy and what it means to be you, and see the value in yourself, because the more you value yourself, the less you're going to tolerate from other people not seeing that value. So something to keep in mind. The other thing is, find yourself a really good support network. And I know it's easy to sort of fall into patterns of trying to rely on yourself to improve, but the more you rely on others and get others to back you, you're going to be more confident in yourself. And so that's something to keep in mind, is surround yourself with people who really see your value and respect you, and make sure that they have the ability to protect you if needed, because it's, even if they don't need to act that way and act protective, just the thought of someone having your back is more than enough to get you through the situation. So find who those people are and separate yourself from those who aren't in the right headspace and that try and negatively affect you underneath the surface. And so look for those who are aligned to you and support you through it. And that's something that's really important. So that was your reading, pile 4. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.